Turns out that Owen was smuggling steroids.
If you're like, I want 3 pounds of frankincense, he's like, I got a guy.
He drifted into some darker pastures.
Say hello to my little friend.
He's a national champion at USC, turned kingpin.
Guys, I'm sitting here talking with Owen Hanson from Cocaine Quarterback, somebody I did not expect to actually have access to. This is such a wild story, and usually when we handle like true crime shows, we don't have the person connected to the crime. So this is a very interesting situation, Owen. And I have to first start, like, at what point during this entire experience that you went through, at what point did you think this is not going to end well?
Man, I think the key point was the time I started to take bets from the cartel. Obviously, I didn't know it was the cartel at that time.
Right.
And once I accepted those bets and started paying the cartel and paying them on a timely matter, because most bookies don't usually pay on a Monday. Once I started paying them, on time like you're supposed to, and he realized what good of a businessman / entrepreneur I was, because he's probably never seen that character in a bookie before. And I think that's where things, my good business skills ended up biting me in the ass, because it led to another thing of money laundering, and the money laundering, I asked for a favor of picking up money in Texas, $1 million here, and laundering money for the cartel. And as a bookie, I've got money all over the United States, so it's very easy for me to relocate money, drop money off, pick money up. As you know, I was one of the largest bookies in the United States at the time, so for me, it was just a phone call away to drop off 100 or pick $1 million up. And when he started paying me that 10%, I was like, wow, this is the easiest money I've ever made.
And it all started with just anabolic steroids at USC, right? It just started with a little gear, and then before you know it, you got some teammates hooking you. You're their plug, and then you're laundering money out of Australia for the cartel.
Yeah, like you said, I crossed that border at 19 years old to get on anabolic steroids because I got cut from the volleyball team, and I was so determined to get back on that volleyball team. And I went across the steroids and got those performance-enhancing drugs. And as soon as I strapped them to my leg and other places in my body that we won't talk about, I crossed that border. And I'll tell you what, that rush when I lied to U.S. Customs, when they said, "Are you bringing anything back?" And I lied for the first time because my dad was so strict. We were taught never to lie. And I crossed that border and I said, "No, sir, I'm not." He says, "Welcome to America." That rush I had, I've been chasing my whole life after that.
You talk about in the documentary about how that was kind of like your first addiction, was that, chasing that high of getting away with it, basically. But then over the course of the story, you clearly become addicted to a lot more things. Are you sober now? Are you clean?
Yeah. So I like I spent the last 10 years behind the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and my daily routine was literally working out twice a day, drinking water, eating fish, and I felt so good. Even at my lowest point, I'm like, if I feel this good right now and I haven't had a sip of alcohol, a line of cocaine, I said, why don't I just keep it going? And I wake up every day at 4 a.m. I take an ice bath. I start my day. I'm out of the gym by 7, and I'm literally working from 7 a.m. with my East Coast customers all the way till midnight, and I feel great.
Good. Congratulations on that. And
thank you.
There is, like, through the course of your whole experience, there are burnt bridges. There are contacts that are, like, kind of got hurt, and burned along the way. How has it been kind of living after prison and kind of like either making amends or repairing those or avoiding those people?
For me, as being that charismatic person I am, it's been very, I wouldn't say difficult. It's difficult in the sense of, rebuilding my life, right? Because you got to do everything legal. But the sense of being a human being and contacting these people that, were part of my indictment. Obviously, I've made amends to 99% of them, and we had the private premiere on Sunday, and I saw probably 12 of the people that were in the documentary, and everyone came and gave me a hug, and we took pictures, and it was a great feeling. People that unfortunately got involved in my illegal activity and were indicted. It was a terrible feeling sitting in that 6x8 prison cell, knowing that your friends, your teammates, your best friend that's a 3-time Super Bowl champ got indicted, and you're like, man, you want to get on the phone and call them and say sorry, but you're in that situation where you're not allowed to talk to anybody.
And now, right, like we see at the end, when you're out of prison, they show you, I think it's is it Dano? Somebody that I was surprised that you were allowed to be around them, because a lot of times,
it was my co-defendant, Tank.
That's it. Yes.
Tank worked for me for many years, was my second in charge, my lieutenant. I used to tell people, since he was part of the documentary, and since I was, on the way to the halfway house, they allowed it. We got authorization. Okay. Obviously, we can't hang out on the streets because we're 2 convicted felons. But I got to tip my hat to him. He took it on the chin. He did his time. I think he was locked up for like 5+ years. And, we spent a little time together in Lompoc prison. And, we just chopped it up like old times. We walked the track, and we said, hey, at the end of the day, we knew we weren't dealing with apples and oranges.
Yeah.
And, we accepted it, and we take full responsibility for our actions.
And now post prison, it was cool to see kind of like what you were allowed to be able to contribute to the case in Australia that ended up shortening your sentence. But how did you go about rebuilding your life to where you are now?
One day at a time, one ice cream at a time. I started at the halfway house. Literally, I got 20 months of what's called basically halfway houses, where you're locked in, similar to a prison, but you're allowed to go to work and church, and you can go 6 days a week, and you have to report back. You have breathalyzers, drug tests, and you have guards that come in the room and make sure you're living there. So, for 20 months, I said, you know what? I had some passion in prison, and my passion was making protein ice cream. And I said, you know what? I've done Google searches. I've called friends that are in the health business, and nobody's done a protein ice cream. I said, you know what? I'm going to create one. I created it in prison. If I can create it at rock bottom, why can't I create it in the real world? And I literally got out, and I just started going to ice cream shops and asking them if they would help me. And then I went to manufacturers that do ice cream bars. And finally, out of about 10 visits, I finally had a group of guys that believed in my story. I gave them the book, The California Kid. I said, listen, you work with me, you're never going to have to worry about getting stiffed. I said, I paid the cartel back $4 million, and I'm still standing.
Yeah,
I said,
exactly.
Just give me a chance. And I said, I'll prove to you that I can do big things. And they believed in me.
When they show that in the documentary of you making the ice cream, it's like, I know about Chi-Chi, like people like with the Cheetos and like the water and all this and ramen, I think it is. But that's usually what people are making in their cells. And you're making protein ice cream and selling it, which I'm like forever a hustler, this guy. And now you've got this world. Are you, because it's so hard for convicted felons to get jobs outside of, after they've, done their time, are you working with other former, incarcerated people? Are you giving job opportunities to them?
Yeah, I actually have about 5 people on my staff now that are given a second chance. I call it the second chance program. And I feel like my brand, California Ice Protein's all about second chance. And I tell people, if I could do it, anybody in this world can do it. And I believe that some of the most interesting people, smartest people, are people I've met in prison. And you wouldn't believe some of these stories that you see, and they're hard workers. And one thing about prison, when you go to prison, you never worry about someone stealing from you. So it's like the number cardinal sin. If you steal in prison, it's like a big no-no. So for me, it's very easy to hire people that have been incarcerated because they're hard workers, and I know I don't have to worry about them stealing.
Very few people get the chance to talk to someone who is the subject of a documentary like this. So like, what was it like for you to watch a documentary about this portion of your life? and be faced with, the accounts from other people.
Man, I'm not gonna lie. The first time I saw it, it brought tears to my eyes. To watch that my life unfold and how it went down and where it started, right? From that broken family. And then I looked towards my right, and my father, my rock, my best friend was right there, and he had a tear in his eyes. I was like, wow, this is hitting everybody. I look behind me, and my All-American fullback, Brandon Hancock, who's in the documentary, he's choking up. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. All my friends, my family is choking up. And then part two, you got people cracking up. So it's, there's a little of both. You're laughing and you're crying. And at the end of the day, I'm blessed to be alive. I tell people there's someone looking upstairs that's been looking after me. And, if you don't believe in God, you should start today.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the fact that the people that you were dealing with, they don't mess around. Like, they're not just sending somebody to break your kneecaps.
No,
it's scary. Yeah,
it was definitely a scary journey.
And through the wild portion of the story where you were like, you were just rolling in money and spending and buying crazy stuff. What was the weirdest, wildest thing that you bought and were able to keep?
Man, to keep, I don't know if I kept anything. The government took me for pretty much everything. I had to turn in an asset forfeiture of $5 million in property, gold, bullion, 4 properties, homes, cars. I bought I think it was a Richard Mille watch back when Richard Mille watches nobody even knew about them. And I think I paid like either 100 or 150,000 cash at the time. And I think the watch is worth like $1 million now.
And did your father, because one of my favorite portions was like when you went and redid your dad's house and he hated it.
Oh, he hated it. He wanted nothing to do with it. He after I did that, he's like, it just doesn't feel like home. I'm leaving. I'm going to Montana.
Yeah.
And he moved.
And now, do you still follow USC football?
Listen, I haven't had a TV in quite some time, because at the halfway house, there was one TV and there was about 200 inmates that were watching the TV. So I didn't even bother going in there. But I'll tell you what, I do follow it on my phone. I like that we're 4-0. Yeah. I plan to go to a game, hopefully the Michigan game this I think it's 2 weeks from now.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, now that you've got all this, like, what did you, and this is like, there's 1,000 answers to this, but what's the biggest thing you learned from all of this?
Just be yourself, right? Don't try to be somebody else. I was chasing that USC lifestyle, trying to fit in with these rich kids, trying to fit in with my teammates that are all going to the NFL. When if I just stayed the course and used that alumni connection I had and continued to work hard and stay straight and narrow and not cut corners, I might have been a Fortune 500 CEO somewhere. But as soon as I got involved in illegal activity and crossed that line and made that right turn, that's when things went south and literally snowballed out of control.
All right, well, listen, everybody, you do not want to miss this story. It's Cocaine Quarterback on Prime Video. It is a fascinating story. Owen, congratulations on surviving the whole thing and, paying your due to society and starting over again. I love that, like everybody loves a comeback. So your second chance theme is absolutely on point. So good luck with everything and just stay out of trouble.
I will. Don't worry. I'm in the ice cream business now.
Yeah, you can't go wrong, right?
No.
All right.
Thank you
so much.
Fight on.